Welcome in, welcome in. We are going to get started here in just a second. So excited to have you join us for our presentation as I will talk about the advantages of driving electric vehicles. Going to cover a lot of things, a lot of exciting things. And we will get started in just a second. Just want to give 1 second to let the last few people trickle in, and we will get going. My name is Jack Minnick. I'm an outreach coordinator with the Center for Sustainable Energy. And I again want to thank everybody for joining us, giving us the time and space to talk about these things, and really appreciate your attendance. That being said, one piece of housekeeping I wanted to take care of at the top is we will have a question and answer period at the end of the presentation. So please, if questions do come up, please write them down, remember them, and you can put them, there will be a questions tab that you can enter your questions and we'll get to them. If they are pressing, feel free to put them in any time, but like I said, there will be time at the end specifically for questions. So any that come up, we'll be able to address at the end. Okay, let's get started. So like I said, my name is Jack Minnick. I'm with the Center for Sustainable Energy, and I'm here to talk about a lot of the advantages of electric vehicles, some of the financial benefits, all kinds of different benefits, incentives, and more. So with that being said, let's jump right into it. First, I just wanted to, next slide, please. I just wanted to jump in to some of the general, more broad benefits of driving electric. Next slide, please. And that first, the reduction of the lifetime cost and the money that you can save when you transition to driving electric. The first is the lower lifetime ownership cost, especially when it comes to refueling. It can cost about 3 times less per year. Plus, there's a lot of reduced maintenance on these vehicles. But on average, you're going to save about 3 times the amount you would be paying for gas refueling. You also won't be going to the gas pump. If you choose a plug-in hybrid, there might still be some trips, but anything that's full electric, you will never stop at the gas station, maybe to fill your tires with air or your windshield wipers with water, but that's about it. Most drivers will charge their vehicles at home overnight and wake up to a fully charged vehicle ready to go for the next day. Another exciting benefit is the HOV lane access sticker. So through the California DMV with these clean vehicles, these electric vehicles, you would qualify for a clean air vehicle decal, and you can bypass heavy freeway traffic as a single driver. So a lot of those HOV lanes are obviously for 2 or more, but if you have this sticker, you can use that carpool lane with just yourself in the vehicle. Exciting stuff there. Next slide, please. So some other benefits are the environmental and health benefits that they provide. They can reduce or completely eliminate, depending on which vehicle you choose, tailpipe emissions. The all-battery electric vehicles produce 0 tailpipe emissions. So those tailpipe emissions are what causing the pollution, especially in California. It's one of the highest states in terms of transportation, and so there is a lot of tailpipe emissions coming out with all of the vehicles we have on the road in our state. Almost 50% of California's total smog and 36% of the greenhouse gases come from motor vehicles. As we all know, California is a car state, and so this is a huge part of the benefits of driving electric. And with that reduction in pollution comes an improvement in overall public health. When we reduce harmful emissions, we improve the health of our communities and the air quality of our communities, which is huge. Next slide, please. So now I want to talk about some financial incentive programs that exist for these vehicles. And I'll get into more of these vehicles and how to charge them later on in the presentation, but we want to make sure we get these financial incentives talked about right away. Next slide, please. So the first program I wanted to talk about was the California Clean Vehicle Rebate Project. It offers California residents up to $4,500 off the purchase or lease of a new eligible electric vehicle. Hydrogen fuel cell vehicles are eligible for higher incentives, but we'll talk about those later. The vehicle must remain in the state of California, and income-eligible applicants may qualify for an increased rebate amount depending on where you fall in terms of income. Rebate application must be submitted within 3 months of the vehicle purchase or lease date. So for our timeline, when you sign the contract at the dealership, whether it's a lease or a purchase, that timeline, those 3 months start from when that date is signed, when that contract is signed. I want to make an important note here that CVRP, this program, is currently out of funding and has a rebate wait list contingent on the refunding. So the application process is still open, but it is a waitlisted program at the moment. And if you ever want more information on this program specifically, please visit cleanvehiclerebate.org. Next slide, please. The next program I wanted to talk to you about is also a California state program. This is the California Clean Fuel Reward Program. And the California Clean Fuel Reward Program offers California residents up to $1,500 off the purchase or lease of a new and eligible battery electric vehicle or plug-in hybrid vehicle. So this program is applied to at the dealership, and it's taken off of the purchase or lease price. So the program we just talked about before is going to be after the purchase or lease. This one is upfront at the dealership. Again, the vehicle has to stay in the state of California. There are no income or location restrictions within California. Some of these programs depend on zip code or income, not with this program. It can be combined with any of the other incentives we're talking about today. And again, for more information, you want to contact the California Clean Fuel Reward headquarters at info@cleanfuelreward.com or the phone number on the screen now. And if you feel like you're trying to write all these programs down, don't worry. I will give you a tool that can help kind of keep track of these programs in just a second. Next slide, please. So next, I wanted to talk about a local incentive that exists in your area, and that's the Pluma Sierra Rural Electric Co-op that offers a $500 rebate for the purchase of any new or used electric vehicle. So the first two programs I talked about were only for new vehicles. However, if you were looking into a used electric vehicle, this could be a program you qualify for. The vehicle has to be registered in Plumas, Lassen, Sierra, or Washoe County, and you have to make sure to contact your PSREC to confirm that your electrical panel is sized to accommodate your EV charger. This is an important step before you make that purchase. The rebate application must be submitted within 6 months of the vehicle purchase date and is available at psrec.coop. Like I said, you have 6 months for this program. Call the phone number on the screen there with any questions about this program specifically. Next slide, please. Another local incentive that exists in your area is put on by the Lassen Municipal Utility District. And this program starts July 1st, so in almost exactly a month from now. LMUD will offer a $500 rebate for the purchase of any new or used electric vehicle. So like the program I just spoke on before, this is going to be for a new vehicle or a used vehicle if that was the route you were wanting to choose. The vehicle must be registered in Lassen County specifically. And again, you have to make sure to contact LMUD to confirm that your electrical panel is sized to accommodate your EV charger. This is a very important step for both of these programs. Rebate application, the application will be available at lmud.org, their website. And again, there's their phone number on the screen with any questions specifically for that program. So those are 4 programs specifically within the state of California. Next slide, please. But there's also a federal tax credit incentive for these vehicles as well. This federal tax credit provides up to $7,500 for any new battery electric vehicle or plug-in hybrid electric vehicle. The EV tax credit amount depends on your car's battery size, your tax liability, and the car manufacturer. If you are leasing the vehicle, there is still a way to qualify for this because that tax credit is still claimed. It is claimed by the dealership. So if you are leasing and the federal tax credit is an important part, incentive for that lease, you're going to want to make sure you work with the dealership to factor that tax credit into the cost of the lease, either lowering your down payment, your monthly payment, however they want to do it. You want to make sure to work with the dealership specifically. If the federal tax credit is something that is vital to the purchase or lease of this vehicle for you, I recommend talking with your tax professional or a tax professional just to check in to make sure exactly how much you would be credited and which car manufacturers qualify, stuff like that. Next slide, please. So I promised you all a tool that can keep track of all of those slides I just covered, because I know I threw a lot of different programs with a lot of different application requirements. However, there is a great centralized location for all of these things, and that is on our website, the Clean Vehicle Rebate Project's website. It's a savings calculator tool. As you can see on the right side there, you just plug in a couple pieces of information like your household size, your zip code, income, stuff like that, and it will, once you plug that in and click calculate, it will come up on the right side there with all of the programs that you would qualify for, and you can even have that emailed to yourself if you want a written record of the programs that you qualify for. It's a really easy to use tool, and it is available in English and Spanish. You can find that tool at that link there, cleanvehiclerebate.org, or one way I also navigate to this tool personally is I just put in the Google search engine our initials CVRP with the words savings calculator next to it. It will also get you to that tool. Again, this is a really important tool for centralizing all of these programs, and it will tell you exactly where to apply, how to apply, and whether you're eligible for that program. Next slide, please. So now we talked about a lot of the incentives that exist for you. What even are we talking about right now anyway? The Electric Vehicle 101. Next slide, please. So there are three different electric vehicles that we reference. The first is going to be a plug-in hybrid electric vehicle. So this is a vehicle that has both a gas-powered engine and an electric engine, and it has both. It's for drivers who want the option to go further distances, but also need that electric range for those lower commute days. You'll get about 150 to 570 miles of total range with that gas engine and 25 to 53 miles specifically on that electric engine. These vehicles can be fully charged in anywhere from 1.5 to 10 hours, depending on the type of charger you use, which I'll talk about charging in just a second. And some examples that we see on the road of this vehicle are the Honda Clarity plug-in hybrid, the Toyota RAV4, the Chrysler Pacifica. There's all kinds of different plug-in hybrids that you may see on the road. This is, like I said, a really good option for those whose commutes are really long, or maybe they drive for work and they want that gas flexibility. That this is a good option. Next slide, please. The second option I wanted to talk to you all about is the all-battery electric vehicle. So this is only powered by electric range. There is no gas engine in this vehicle. It is the cleaner version to the plug-in hybrid. And it's for drivers, like I said, who want to achieve that zero tailpipe emission and have access to charging opportunities. So because this is an electric vehicle only, you want to make sure you have access to charging. And again, we'll talk about charging in a minute. You have a range of about 60 to 350 plus miles of range, and that completely depends on which vehicle you choose, on what that range is going to look like. These vehicles can be fully charged in anywhere from 4 to 10 hours, depending on what kind of charger you use. And some famous examples that you might have seen on the road so far are the Chevy Bolt, the Hyundai Kona, the Nissan Leaf, any of the Tesla models that you may see on the road. All of those are going to be the all-battery electric vehicles. Next slide, please. I also wanted to talk to you about the hydrogen fuel cell electric vehicles. These are for drivers who want to combine the zero-emission driving of a battery electric car with the quick refueling of hydrogen. So these vehicles are powered by hydrogen, and the exciting part of that is the refueling process is actually very similar to how you would fuel a gas-powered vehicle. Oftentimes, the hydrogen fueling stations exist at gas stations, so you can find them together. You can get about 250 to 320 miles of total range with these vehicles, depending on the model you choose. And it takes, like I said, about 3 to 5 minutes to refuel, similar to filling a gas tank. That's the biggest advantage to these vehicles. However, I do want to be clear, these hydrogen stations only exist in the state of California, and they are still few and far between in the state. However, they are a really good option for those looking for a vehicle that would stay in the state of California. Some examples you may have seen of this vehicle are the Hyundai Nexo and the Toyota Mirai. Next slide, please. So I've talked about the vehicles themselves. Now, how do you fuel them? Charging 101. Next slide, please. So there are 3 different levels of charging, and I'm going to start with the slowest level and work our way up. So we'll start with that level 1 charger, which you can see on the left there. Looks like any outlet, any 120 volt outlet that already exists. So anything that you plug your phone into, anything you plug a hair dryer into, you can plug your vehicle using that outlet. Level 1 charging is the slowest method of charging, but it can be sufficient, and it is the most common for many drivers. Oftentimes the plug for the charging plug will come with the vehicle most times. Because it is the slowest method, it's oftentimes used for drivers who charge overnight or drivers who are charging a plug-in hybrid that doesn't have as big of a range, because it will charge about 3.5 to 6.5 miles per hour it's plugged in. Oftentimes, these chargers are specifically at home. And I'll talk about the difference between at-home charging and public charging as well. Next slide, please. The next level of charging I wanted to jump into is the level 2 charger. So it is going to be considerably faster than the level 1, and it can be found at many public and workplace charging stations, as well as in home too. So this plug is going to be that 240 volt outlet, which you can see on the left side. Looks like any plug that you would plug your washing machine into, or anything that requires that 4-prong 240 volt outlet, you would find this is what the level 2 charger will plug into. It's going to go a lot faster. You're going to get about 14 to 35 miles of charge per hour. And like I said, these can be found in the home privately, as well as in public spaces like malls and along big travel corridors. the 5 freeway has a lot of these charging stations throughout. And the level 2 wall-mounted or portable charging unit can be purchased separately and like I said, plugs directly into that 240-volt outlet. So a lot of the time, drivers do get this type of charger installed in their home because it is a lot faster than that level 1 charger. Next slide, please. And the final charging method I wanted to talk about, some people call it level 3, but it's also known as that DC fast charger. This is going to be the fastest way to charge an electric vehicle. It's also might be known as quick. You might have heard quick charging, supercharging. Anything that is fast, that is the word associated with this charger. You can get about 100 miles of charge in just about 30 minutes. And I want to be clear, these chargers only exist in public spaces. These are not typically chargers you'd find at home because there would need to be significant electrical upgrade to have a fast charger at home. However, a lot of the public spaces will have these fast chargers. And like I said, talking about those charging stations off the major travel corridors and major freeways, these are oftentimes what you'll find there because on a road trip or a longer drive, people will stop off for lunch or a snack or just to breathe for a little bit, charge their, plug in their vehicle for an hour, 30 minutes, however, and have some range to get right back on the road and keep moving. However, this type of charging isn't available for all the EVs out on the market. A lot of them, but not all of them. So make sure to check with your manufacturer and the dealership to determine if your car has the fast charging capability. You want to, if this is an important part of the purchase for you, make sure that the vehicle you're choosing qualifies. Next slide, please. So I've talked about public charging, but how am I supposed to find all of these chargers? Great question. There's a really helpful tool called PlugShare, and you can find this online at plugshare.com. They also have an application for phones if that is something you would want to download. And as you can see on that map there, it looks like any map you find on MapQuest, anything like that. But it shows where charging stations are throughout the state and in your area. You can enter your zip code and it'll shoot out exactly which charging stations are near you. And you see that some are different colors. That just represents the different types of chargers. So it'll show you whether it's a level 2 or a level 3 charger. It will show you whether it's private or public. It'll show you some stations charge for the fueling and some don't. Some it's free to charge. So it just depends. But if you click on the specific charger, you can get a lot more information on any specific charger. This is a really helpful tool to kind of see whether or not public charging will be a possibility for you in terms of your commute, in terms of to see if chargers are near areas that you frequent a lot, stuff like that. And at the end of the day, it's fun to kind of just see what electric vehicle chargers exist near you. This is a really helpful tool. Next slide, please. So I wanted to talk a little bit more about public charging specifically. Like I said earlier, stations can be either free, pay as you go, or there are even some that you can pay for a monthly or yearly subscription, depending on the company of the charger, of the charging station. Volta is one of the companies that is offers free public charging. So if you find a Volta station, you know what that entails. And then some manufacturers such as Hyundai, Nissan, Tesla, sometimes others provide complimentary public charging too. Sometimes at the dealership, sometimes they'll give you credit for the charged public stations, but it's definitely something you want to check in with at the dealership if you're making this purchase. The pay-as-you-go and subscription-based public charging costs depend on sometimes the charging speed, the network or property owner. Sometimes they charge per kilowatt. Sometimes they just charge per minute of it plugged in. Just completely depends on the specific station. But like I said, that plug share tool that I shared with you before will be able to, that plug share tool will show you exactly what you can expect to pay and how you can expect to pay. Next slide, please. To talk a little bit more about the at-home charging, as you can see here on the left, she is charging her Nissan Leaf right from her garage. She looks quite happy doing it. The cost of charging at your home depends on your vehicle's battery size and the cost of electricity where you live. So we can't give an estimated increase to an electric bill or whatever just because it is so variant on, again, the vehicle, the level of charger, and the rate of your utility provider. However, on average, it's going to be significantly, the increase in the electric bill while charging will be significantly less than what you would pay to fuel your vehicle at a gas station. And like I said, 3 times less specifically. Next slide, please. So I wanted to talk to you all about electric vehicles performance in the winter, specifically with the colder months, because oftentimes this is a point of conflict when it comes to electric vehicles, and I just wanted to dispel some myths quickly. Next slide, please. So how does the cold weather affect charging speeds and range? Well, ultimately, all vehicles, whether they're electric, gas-powered, whatever, perform a little less during the colder months, especially the freezing months. It reduces efficiency, like I said, of all vehicles. At 20 degrees Fahrenheit, there's a 20% reduction in the fuel economy for gas vehicles. So, as the temperature drops, charging time typically goes up. So, as it gets colder, sometimes that charging takes a little bit longer. It still works and still charges, but because of that temperature drop, sometimes it can go up. And like I said, if you choose at-home charging, a full charge overnight is almost always sufficient for most drivers' daily commute. Unless that commute is a far, far one, or they're driving all day for their work, a huge majority of the time, a full charge overnight would be sufficient. Cold temperatures may reduce the electric range. Heating is typically the largest drain on the battery, but you will lose a lot less range in newer models. So the newer vehicles are becoming equipped with systems where their heaters do not drain the battery. However, during the colder months, when you do use the heater more often, you just want to make sure on that range that sometimes that electric range, electric mile range, can deplete a little bit quicker if that heater is running. But we do have some ideas in the next slide, please. Oh, next slide, please. Thank you. Here are some cold weather options to make driving electric more efficient in these colder months. You can use the heated seats and steering wheel options instead of heating the entire vehicle, and they can be a lot more efficient in terms of heating the vehicle where you're still comfortable, but also not draining that battery as much, and so you extend that mile range. You can also use battery-powered heaters and heat pumps, and you keep the battery pack warm and the cabin at a comfortable temperature with these devices, and obviously you wouldn't be draining the electric vehicle's range, but it is another way to heat the vehicle. And another way to kind of keep that range is warming up your car before you head out. So if you turn on the car's heater while you're still plugged in, obviously, because you're still plugged in, you will not be losing that range like you would be if you're driving with your heater going or anything like that. So that's another option that can exist for those colder months to keep that electric vehicle performance at its optimal time. Next slide, please. So I know I threw a lot of information at you all. Please let me know if there are any questions about the financial incentives that I've talked about, the vehicles, the charging, anything that we've talked about. Please send those questions in now. Okay. I see that Bill has a question, and it looks like it's about the local incentives specifically. Do I have a partner on here to jump in and answer this question? I'd like to confirm that the LMUD and PSREC rebates are restricted to those who receive power from these providers. Now, did I have an LMUD or PSREC rep to confirm this?
Hi, Jack. This is Emily with PSREC.
Perfect.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hey, yeah. So I'd just like to confirm, yep, just these rebates are only available to PSREC members, those who pay our member rates. So, yeah.
Perfect.
If they're, PG&E customer or someone else, they're not eligible.
Perfect. Thank you for that. Did we have any other questions Okay, it's looking like that is it for now. We can go to the next slide so I can close things out. And with those programs, even the local ones we talked about, you can find the information on those programs still at that savings calculator tool. And just to reiterate, if you Google CVRP and savings calculator, you'll get to that tool, and it's, again, really helpful. And that can get you to incentives that exist throughout the state. Some we may have not even covered right now. So like I said, my name is Jack Minnick. That's me there on the left. I know I wasn't sharing a camera, but if you just picture that's who was giving you the presentation. That's my email right there, jack.minnick@energycenter.org. If you ever have any questions beyond this, we have a Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter account if you're interested there. And again, I just wanted to thank you from the entire CVRP equity team for your time today and your partnership. We really appreciate you letting us into your community and giving some of your time to learn about these vehicles. And I really want to thank you. I will just say one more time, if there are any questions before we wrap things up, please submit them now. But it is looking like we are good to wrap up. Again, thank you so much. And like I said, if you have any further questions, please use my email there. Otherwise, have a fantastic rest of your Wednesday. I hope you all have an enjoyable summer, and I hope that you are all healthy and happy. Thank you so much.